Welcome back to Franchise Player, and today we're checking out some underrated PS3 games. We're going to start off strong with All Pro Football 2K8. And even if you're not a football fan, you got to know that this is probably the best football game possibly ever. This was the last football game that 2K Sports ever made. This was a really unique game. It's not arcadey, it's definitely a sim football game. It does lack a franchise mode, which I know a lot of you real sim heads, real sports fans are probably not gonna like that it doesn't have a franchise mode. You do have a season mode. You can create your own team with all the legends. So you have John Elway on here, Barry Sanders, Jerry Rice. You have a bunch of old former pro legends that you basically pick from to pick your team. And the gameplay in this, dude, I'm not even kidding. I'm playing through a season right now on PS3. The gameplay still smokes modern Madden, and it's really sad. Every time I go back to one of these old sports games, dude, I'm just like, why is there not any competition? Why does EA have the rights to it? Like I've said in previous videos, dude, like competition breeds excellence. Competition is good for everyone, right? Like us as the consumer, bro, like we're going to win if there's competition out there. When there's only one option, AKA Madden with EA or 2K now for basketball, companies can get lazy and they can kind of just recycle the same game every year, which really sucks. This game actually has a little bit of value to it. It goes for around 20-ish bucks online. I got this years ago at an old record store near me. The record store went out of business. If you're from Northern California, it was called Dimple Records. Doesn't exist anymore, but I got it there for I think like $5 or $6 ages ago. And I still play it. It's a great game. Even if you're not a sports fan, it might be worth having in your collection just because it's the last football game that 2K made. And this is really special. I highly recommend it if you like sports. And one thing I wanted to say too is that this game is also on Xbox 360. And I believe on Xbox 360, you can still play this online, which is really cool. On PS3, I don't believe you can still play this online, but on 360 you can. So if you have an Xbox, maybe pick this up for 360 instead since it's multi-platform. So next up, we have a pretty cheap game here. And funny enough, this had originally came out on the 3DS and then was ported to other systems. And that's Resident Evil Revelations. I think Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 are kind of overshadowed by the mainline games, Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, all the bangers that everyone loves. These games don't get enough love, man. Revelations 1 and specifically 2, in my opinion, really get overshadowed. But yeah, this game was originally released on the 3DS all the way back in 2012. And then I think it was like 5-6 months later, this was ported to PS3 and 360. I think the graphics on this look really solid, especially considering this was originally a game on 3DS. And overall, I just think this is a really cool game. I'm a big Resident Evil fan. I know this isn't a PS3 exclusive and there's other ways to play it, but if you're trying to build up your PS3 collection for 10 bucks, I think this is a pretty good game to have in the collection. I think this is definitely one of the better Resident Evil games that you can get on PS3. You can get this, Resident Evil Revelations 2, RE5. I know people aren't too fond of RE6 or Operation Raccoon City, which I've talked about before. That game sucks. Resident Evil Revelations, man, for 10 bucks, throw it in the PS3 collection. If this is your only way to play it, it's a pretty good way. So next up, this is a game that we actually did not get physically on the PS3 here in the US. And that is Yakuza 5. And I know nowadays Yakuza is a super popular series. 5, 10, actually no, I'd say like 10 years ago, even before, Yakuza was not very popular here in the US or just North America, right? It was really big in Japan. Sega was killing it with Yakuza over there, and it wasn't until fairly recently, I'd say with Yakuza 0, that this series really started to get popping out here in the West. Like I said, Yakuza 5 did not get a physical release here in the US, at least on PS3. I know you can get it physically in Japan. It's the Japanese version of the game. If you're a collector, pick it up physically. It's a cool cover, nice to have, and it's always cool sometimes to have some imports in the collection as well. But Yakuza 5 on PS3, man, still looks really, really, really good in my opinion. Even after me playing Yakuza 0 on PS4, I think Yakuza 5 on PS3 still looks really good. I believe, I haven't beat it yet, but I believe, from what I've heard and seen online, seen on Reddit, seen on YouTube, that Yakuza 5 is the longest one in the series. So if you're looking for a game to sink some time into, have a really fun time playing through the story, do a ton of side missions, you know how it is in Yakuza, it's like endless opportunities of games and side missions and side stories to do, then this is the game for you. Yakuza 5, man, no brainer, still worth playing on the PS3, even though you can play technically the remastered version on PS4 in that collection that they released. This one is a series that I didn't really get too into because I've always kind of been more of like a sim racer guy. I've always liked Gran Turismo. Don't get me wrong, Burnout and games like that are really fun too. But Dirt 3 is a really fun, just kind of rally off-road racing game. I haven't played any of the newer versions of Dirt. I haven't played, what was it, 4 or 5 either. But 3 I've had a really good time with, man. You can race all over. It has locations you can race at and tracks in the US and Asia. It has tons of different cars. And you know, this is fun. When you look it up online, it's like Simcade. So it's like a simulation / arcade racer. I definitely think this leans more towards arcade. This is a really fun game, dude. You can pick it up for, you know, easily 10, 15 bucks all day. It's a pretty common game. And you know, even when this originally came out, man, it got really solid ratings. Normally, whenever you see a game posting reviews on the cover, you're like, yeah, all right, bro. Of course, you're gonna show the best reviews and scores that you get. But from everything I saw online, man, even when this initially came out, everywhere was giving it like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. And I totally agree. It's super fun. I think the graphics still hold up really well. This is back when games were actually still at least attempting to make the back of a game, the back of a game's cover art look at least half decent. Yeah, this is kind of a beat up copy I have. I don't remember if I got this at a garage sale or where I got it, or if it was like half price folks or a Goodwill or something. But yeah, Dirt 3, totally recommend it, man. Next up here, I have another, you know, semi-sports related game, and that is UFC Undisputed 2010. I don't have 2009, that's the version that I actually spent the most time with, like specifically in middle school. Me and my boys were just playing UFC 09 constantly. But 2010 is really good, decent amount of improvements from 2009. And kind of like I said earlier with All Pro Football, man, this was a great game, and then now you have EA making the UFC games. So guess what? Rinse and repeat. They're basically dropping the same game every couple years. At least on UFC, they don't release it every year. UFC 2010, this is a great game if you're looking to do couch co-op, man. This is a great one if you're having company over, boom, pop it in. You don't even have to be a UFC fan. I'm not really too big into UFC, but you can pop this in when you have some company over, and it's fun just kind of beating the shit out of each other. So yeah, this is a dope game, man. It's also like 10 bucks. I think the most expensive one of this is UFC Undisputed 3, which is the one after this and the last one. I've never played it, but it's supposed to be the best of the bunch. But you can get 09 or 10 for stupid cheap, like 10 bucks pretty much all day, every day. So yeah, UFC 2010, highly recommend it. Next up here is a game that I actually talked about pretty recently in another PS3 video. But if you haven't seen that one, this game is totally worth it. I don't think it'll ever get ported or remastered or like redone ever. And that is John Woo's Stranglehold. This game is badass, man. This is such a fun game. It's super over the top, like slow-mo shooting action. I'll have some clips up here on screen, but this game is just super fun. They don't really make games that are kind of like cheesy action type film movies like that, or games like this anymore. And it's just a really cool game. It's really fun. I know a lot of people have complaints where they're like, oh, Stranglehold is too repetitive. You're just diving around in slow motion with two guns out, you know, shooting people. But that's the whole point of this game, dude, is just mindless fun. You're jumping on there. Look, man, like not every game needs to be the world's best story. This game is just fun action. You're jumping on, you're doing crazy kills, you're jumping over tables, you're going in slow-mo. And yeah, this is a fun one. I don't think it gets enough love. This is a game that's actually also on 360, so if you don't have a PS3, you can pick this up on 360. I just wish they made games like this nowadays, where it's just, you know, cheesy, mindless fun. Not every game nowadays needs to be some insane AAA release with massive budgets that take 10 years of development. It's okay to pop out, I'd say, some like B grade level games. I might get a comment talking some smack saying this is a B-rated game, but you know what I mean. So I wanted to put another fighter on here, and I've recently got into fighting games. I picked up Street Fighter 6 on PS5 not that long ago, and I've really just been kind of going back into other fighting games and checking them out and seeing which ones I like. I've been playing King of Fighters a bit on my Vita. I realized I had this in my collection, and I had a buddy over and played it, and that is BlazBlue Continuum Shift. So I'm not familiar with the BlazBlue series at all. I don't know if this is one of the best ones in the series or not, but the reason I'm putting it on this list is I feel like BlazBlue as a whole is a little underrated and maybe a little slept on in the fighting game community. Maybe I'm too much of a casual dude and have no idea what I'm talking about, but I feel like this is not one of like the big three. Yeah, when I played this game, the art style was amazing. Like this was a game, I'm not kidding, it looks so good, where I could just toss it on my TV over where my PS3's at and just chill out and have like a fight going in the background, right? Like it looks that cool. If you're just getting some work done, you're chilling in your office, reading a book or your game room or whatever, have this playing in the back and it just looks sick. And of course it's super fun too to do couch co-op with one of your friends and play this. BlazBlue Continuum Shift. This is another game that you can get for about 15 bucks, probably less locally, not that expensive. And the last game that I'm gonna be talking about is Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Blacklist. To my knowledge, this is the last Splinter Cell game that was ever made. And you know, if you were a kid growing up in the early 2000s, you know Splinter Cell games were everywhere. Specifically on the 6th gen, I feel like is where there was just a ton of Splinter Cell games. But this game is definitely a little slept on in my opinion, and people don't bring it up enough. This does have pretty good reviews online, specifically when it came out. And this is just good, fun Splinter Cell action. Splinter Cell Blacklist, really solid game. You really can't go wrong with anything Tom Clancy. Haven't beat this game yet, but it's another one that you'll probably want in your collection. I could maybe see this going up in value eventually. I'm not saying it's gonna get crazy expensive, but I could definitely see it going up in the future. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today's video of underrated PS3 games. Like I said, I'll probably do another episode or a few more of these episodes in the future of just underrated games for each system. Let me know some PS3 games that you think are underrated. Maybe they're slept on, didn't get the love or attention that you think they deserve when they came out. Even if it's not PS3 exclusive and it's multi-platform, totally cool. I'm always down to check out some hidden gems, underrated games, or games that were, you know, underappreciated. But yeah, as usual, appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you soon with another video.